Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with manager Dutch discussing how he started touring for Nappy Roots, how being a relentless worker helped him win, and building and elevating the team with Big KRIT. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting down with manager, and I'm sure there's more to this title. Dutch, what's up?
What's good? How you doing?
I'm great. What else? What else could I add to your title of things that you consider yourself as?
You could just say manager.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I used to road manage.
Right, tour management.
I used to do that. I used to do everything I could do to get to the point to where I'm at now.
All right, so like most people know that you're managing, and you have been for about 9 years almost with Big KRIT.
So I've been officially managing KRIT for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I was road managing KRIT in 2010. That's when it started. And then it kind of just moved into the manager role.
Got you. Okay, so I like to always start off with, the background and like how you even, the road to getting to where you are now. Because, if somebody were to just step into your life now, they think, he got it all figured out. But we know some years ago, you were trying to figure it out, right? So that's what this podcast is, to kind of explain the journey. But I know you're from Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. H-Town.
H-Town. But your parents aren't from Houston.
No. My mom is Jamaican. She came to the States when she was 17 years old. My dad's from Trinidad. Kind of like the same story. Came here from Trinidad when he was like 16, 17 years old.
So how does that play into like the type of work ethic that you have? Because I have a parent who's an immigrant, and the way that he works is completely different from some of my counterparts and what they learn from their parents. So do you think that plays a big part in the way that you like move and maneuver, just growing up in a household with like Caribbean parents?
Yes, definitely. I've come from a household where like my mother, she was the breadwinner. Truth be told, I didn't really grow up with my father like that. But I had a stepfather. He came in, he did what he had to do. But my mother's always been a grinder since day one. Relentless worker, doing what she had to do to make sure that the family was good.
Is it just you?
No, it's me and my brother and my sister from my mom. You know what I'm saying? So she did what she had to do, and she's still doing what she has to do to this day, working. I think it's just in her blood. Like, even when she retires, I feel like she's gonna be doing something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like something that she just wants to be busy. Same thing with my grandfather. He passed. But what I do know about him is that, he lived a great life.
Okay.
But he was a hard worker. Built his house in Jamaica. Pastor in the city. In this community in Jamaica. Everybody knew who he was. So I feel like it's just family values.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Definitely.
Your mom's dad?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So, what was the background, or like why did you decide to get into music? I know from a little birdie that you actually played instruments growing up.
Who told you that?
Don't worry about it. You played instruments in high school?
I did. I
What'd
played
you play?
instruments in high school. I played trumpet during concert season, and I played percussion during marching season.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of switched, and I was really dope at both. But yes, that was pretty much my thing. I love music since day one. Actually, I got the music, I feel like, from my dad. Before, our little split, he used to play the steel drums. He's Trinidadian. So like I said, he used to play the steel drums a lot. And I just thought it was so cool. You know what I mean? So as a kid, I was like getting like pots and pans. I know people have heard this story before, but it's really real. I was getting pots and pans and beating on them and stuff like that. Until my mom was able to buy me a drum set.
Dope.
You know what I'm saying? So,
how old were you when that happened, when she was able to buy you a drum set?
I was probably like 9, 10, 11, around that time. And I just fell in love with drums. and that was that. But I've always felt like I've been like in love with music, so it's just the transition to trumpet to me was it was seamless.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I did both. I did both very
That's
well.
dope. That's dope. Yeah, I think it's interesting or like, did you have any aspirations to be like performing or be an artist or anything prior to getting into management and being behind the scenes?
Um, as far as being an artist, I think everybody at one point, wanted to kind of rap or do their thing or whatever. So yeah, I rapped for a little bit.
See,
Back in
I never did like I never had the. I feel like I talked to a lot of people on this podcast who may have done music or, been in the band and like had the talent, and I was as well, but I didn't. I just didn't want to be that like perform. It's scary. It's a little intimidating.
I mean, for me, it was like I said, it was just in me. I went through all high school, switching from trumpet to percussion, and then I went to Prairie View on a full a music scholarship to play trumpet.
Gotcha.
So I got to PV, and I was playing trumpet at PV, and I was just so hyped to be at PV because the school I went to was kind of like predominantly mixed. Then I went to a HBCU, and I've always been like I call myself like a mixture of everything, like like not to say like that, but the streets, the nerdy shit, the cool shit. Like I was a dude at school that I just sat at the cool table, but really and righteously I was kind of involved in everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Every side of the aspect was cool to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was. I mean, or that you could connect to people well.
I connect to everybody well. I feel like I got great energy. I feel like I give off good energy. Sometimes I feel like people may look at me and look at my facial expressions and feel like, oh, you okay? But really and righteously, once you get to know me, I have great energy. And I get along well with everybody.
I think that's a positive trait to have in what you do, right?
Definitely.
People don't want to work with somebody who's a pain in the ass. So
Correct.
it's a good trait to have.
For sure.
So being from Houston, I know you ended up, so I'm assuming this is after Prairie View and like after, what did you study while you were in school?
School was weird. So I got to school and like I said, I went down to, for music. And I'll never forget this day. It's funny you asked me that. I went to school and then like they was just like, oh, pick your major. And I was just like, oh, I got to pick a major, what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right.
So I didn't know what to pick. So I just picked something that I was kind of cool at. I had just learned how to type, so I had picked computer information systems.
And then no idea.
Didn't have no idea what it was. True story. I was just there to really be in band.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what I went to school for until I left.
So you didn't graduate?
I did not graduate.
You said that and looked down. Like, do you regret that or?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not to say it like that. It just works out how it's supposed to work out for the individual.
So how long were you in school?
A year and a half.
Oh, you were like, okay, I know I'm not. So what prompted you to leave?
Again, it's just about your interest level to me and what I felt interested me. I mean, my interests was, again, music. And then it was a transition when I got from high school to college and I was in the band at PV. No disrespect to those, that rode it through, but in my mind, I was just like, I don't want to continue to do this shit. Like, I was like, how am I going to make money playing the trumpet?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my first thought. So I was already, like, into hip-hop, all of that stuff, heavy, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up trying to go to a school called Full Sail. Mm-hmm. So I left PV, and then I found Full Sail. And then I was, like, telling my mom, because, again, that's who I grew up with. And then she did her best. She was trying to, like, be my co-signer on it. None of our credit was good enough to really get the loan that it would have took for me to go to that type of school.
Right.
I think it was like $60,000 a semester, and the semester was only like 6 to 8 weeks. Mm-mm. So you had to fulfill 2 semesters. So I had to get a loan for like 120 bands or some shit like that. It wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? So
What were you gonna do? Like engineer? You were gonna go into like engineering at full
Yeah, I
time?
was. I feel like engineering was something I was gonna go there. I just wanted to just be in the realm of music.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I just knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know exactly what, but I knew I wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So after that fell through, um, I got a job, regular job, working at like Foot Action. You know, just little cool stuff in Sharpstown Mall in Houston. Then one day I'm looking in the back of the Source magazine, no joke, and I saw another school that looked just like it looked just like Full Sail. It was called IAR, Institute of Audio Research. It was in New York. At the time, I was cool with my homie. Back then, his name was Renegade. His name now is Mickey Fax. And I was cool with Smoke DZA. And I just told him I wanted to move to New York. At the time, Renegade, Mickey Fax, he had his own spot in Harlem on 135th.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yo, if you make it down here, you can stay with me. So talked to my mom again, you know.
All right, well, I got another plan.
Mom, I got another plan. And I did some research on the school. The school was like $6,000 a semester, $7,000.
So
like
drastic difference between.
Super drastic
Right.
difference. Still didn't have the money really to pay for that, so I had to take out a little loan. End up moving from Houston to New York by myself to live with Mickey, and be around Smoke and all of them. Just want to just be in the vicinity of, you know.
What was going on? Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I always felt like I've always been the type that wanted to explore and do things. And I've always, like, in the back of my mind, like, I always knew that things were going to be good. Kind of hard to explain that, but I knew I had to go through a point where I had to struggle in order for me to be good, if that makes sense. So in my mind, I was just like, I'm going to be good. Like, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to be straight. Like, everybody was worried. But in my mind, I was just like, I'm going to be good. Trust me. So that's that.
So being from Houston and like moving to New York, how drastic was that of a change? And, you know, because like I moved personally to, you know, from Atlanta to DC and then had spent some time in New York. And it was just like from this to like this. It was such a huge change for me being the first time I ever been to a place like that. So was it easy for you to adapt or how was it that experience for you?
I loved it. Again, it was a struggle period, but I loved it. Just like I said, you know, when I was a kid, I also used to go to Jamaica a lot. I went to Trinidad a lot. I took some little school field trips to like Washington D.C. and stuff like that. I was always like the kid in my family that was just about the shits. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to do everything. Like, you know what I mean? So when I got to New York, it was like a culture shock for me because I went from Stafford, Texas, Mo City, Texas to Harlem, New York. And it just threw me for a loop. Like I was seeing all of the shit I saw in Spike Lee movies. You know what I'm saying? Like I was listening to nothing but New York music. You know what I mean? The Lox has always been my favorite group. So like, you know, I was a big Jadakiss fan. I was a fan of like Mad People back in the day. Still am to this day. But it's like, it was a great culture shock for me. I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Yeah. So so once you got to New York, you started moving. Essentially, things started happening. What was that? I know you linked up with Cinematic Music Group. That was kind of like the first thing we talked about. What was that, like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
At the IdOMUSIC showcase. So I know that about you, and that Smoke DZA encouraged, and a few of your friends kind of encouraged that move to New York for you.
Yeah.
But we know how fast paced New York is. So at that point, what was the movement for you? Were you still pursuing the school thing, or you was like immediately in it?
So it's funny you said that. So when I got there, I went to the school for like a week. But then, like, you know, in New York, like I said, it was just so different in Texas. So when I got to New York, I was in school from like 8 to like 6 p.m. And then when I got out of school, it kind of was like when everybody was kind of winding down, or I felt like I was missing mad shit. Can I cuss on this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel like I was missing mad shit. Like, I remember I would be calling Mickey and them, and they'd be like, yo, we here. And then I'd be like, oh, damn, I'm in school. Or I
Right.
hit Smoke, and then he be like, yo, I'm in the studio with such and such. And I'm like, damn, you in the studio with him for real?
Right. Right.
Like, I got to be there. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even tell my mom. I just stopped going to school. Like, I just stopped going to school, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm just about to just intern this shit out. I just need to be around.
Right.
I'm an energy guy again, you know what I'm saying? So if I'm around good energy, or if I'm around stuff that I feel like I need to be around, I'm gonna make the sacrifice to do what I need to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I did. I stopped going to school, and I was going to studios and just moving around, and then Smoke was real. He was signing Cinematic at the time. At the time, it was Smoke and Numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the group with his boy named Numbers. You know what I'm saying? So, and I met Johnny Shipes. You know, once again, he's like a very important piece to my life. He took me in. He was just like, yo. But then again, I was willing to do whatever to just be around.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, like I was literally known as the do boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, go do this or go do that. At the same time, when I was doing that, when I met Shipes, Evil Empire, they were just popping off. I'm not sure if you remember that mixtape series, but it was a DJ called the Evil Empire. They were like big on just like unreleased music, all of that stuff. So I was working with them. That was my boy Fat Matt and Ev Boogie. I was working with them heavy. And then Shipes at the time, his shit was called Swap Management. He was partners with a lady named Anel Pla. And they had, at the time, they had Red Spider, they had Foxy Brown, and they had Nappy Roots. So I was just, once again, I was just in the office every day, running errands, picking up food, doing whatever I had to go drop off something, go, you know, whatever. Just go do it. I was just like, bet, I'm gonna go do it. I'll be back. But then I always did it with pride. I never complained. I wanted to do it. Like I said, for me, it was just like I wanted to be around the situation. So I never complained about things that I love. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of just worked out. It just kind of just gradually built from there.
So I mean, we're in 2018, 2019, basically. What would you tell someone, you know, because like there's a lot of conversations around interning and like people feeling like they have to get paid to be an intern. And I've interned for free majority of my internships, so I can't relate. But what would you say or how did you gain so much from that experience that money probably wouldn't have even equated to?
To be 100% with you, I never came from money. So you know, when I got to New York, it wasn't like, oh, honestly, I didn't even know what to ask for, if that makes sense.
It does.
I didn't even know what to ask for. I was just like, again, I was just happy to be there. I think my mom was sending me like $150 every 2 weeks. I would use that, you know, no disrespect, but me and Smoke, we would buy weed, sit on the block, you know, buy little dime sacks. And then I would buy mad Lenny sandwiches. I ate so many sandwiches when I lived in New York. It was ridiculous.
Me
All
too.
I ate
and
was
pizza.
Sandwiches and pizza.
Same.
And then
Yeah, do what you gotta do.
I had to do what I had to do. But I didn't even know what to ask for. Like, so my advice, you know, everybody's success story is going to be different. So, I don't want to be the person to give you advice to be like, oh, you got to grind out. Don't take no payment. Whatever the situation is, it is what it is, but do it with pride, regardless if you're getting paid or not. You know what I'm saying? So that's my advice, you know what I'm saying, to you know, future interns or whatever, if you want to get in the game or however you want to do it. Just don't come in looking for bread unless you have a clear picture of what you can offer.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
If it's just interning, no disrespect, I went through it. You're gonna have to do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And more than likely, you're not gonna get a lot of bread. Trust me. So
at what point did you turn the internship into a job?
So I guess when I met Nappy Roots through Shipes and them. So he just hit me one day. He was just like, yo, I got Nappy Roots coming in town. He was just like, they want to go out tonight. And he was just like, your job today is just to go out with them, make sure they don't need nothing. So I was like, all right, bet. So I ended up going to the club with them. And just off of nature, you know, I didn't really know what to do. But I just consistently asked them if they were good, did they need anything to drink, you know what I'm saying? And that was just that. And then Skinny DeVille, who was like the leader of the group, you know what I'm saying? He pulled me to the side. He asked me how old I was. I was like 22, 23 at the time. And I was just like, yeah, I'm 22, 23. He was like, yo, he's like, we like what you do. I like what you do. I feel like you should fit with us. So I was just like, okay, cool. He was just like, I want you to be our road manager. And I was like, okay, bet. But I had no idea what
What
a
that
road
meant.
manager was. I had no idea, I swear. I remember the next day I went to the office and Yoni Goldberg, he used to work at Swap too. Shout out to Yoni Goldberg. I asked Yoni and I was like, Yoni, what is a road manager? And once again, not trying to sound funny, but people weren't paying attention to me. So he was like, I don't know, just go look it up. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I bet. Then he was just like, I think you're their manager, but on the road, so you just kind of take care of what they want on the road. So I was like, I bet, cool. So that was that. I think like 2 weeks later, I took a Greyhound bus to Kentucky to start road managing for Nappy Roots. Um, and truth be told, they kind of like molded me into the road management position as far as like how I should act or how I should present myself on the road or how I should deal with people. Um, I never forget Scales, Fish Scales. It's my bro to this day. I forgot what the situation was, but it was more so like a promoter telling me what he wanted, and I wasn't telling him what the group wanted. And then I was cool with what the promoter gave us, but the group was pissed.
Right, right.
So he was just like, never forget that they're here for us. Da 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 da. You need to lay the rules and da 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 da. And
Basically,
at the
like
same,
demand
yeah.
on
And
your
at the
end.
same time, he was just like, you also need to start becoming a people person. So I was like, what you mean by become a people person? He was just like, you should know how to step in the room. You should know how to interact with everybody. White folks, black folks, Jew, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, you need to be able to, you should be able to fit in the mold of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I was just like, cool. And I mean, to this day, that news and that information stuck with me.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, I showed them mad love. I did, I did like at least 6 to 8 months on the road with them for no bread too. Again, like, I didn't even know what a road manager was at the time. I was just like, oh, da da da, we on the road, and then it was just like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do that. But my job with them was I did everything, like driving.
You was driving?
I was driving. I was the fake DJ because
What does
it
that
was
mean?
they had the little automatic replay machine where
Mm-hmm.
you just had to hit a button.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a bunch of shit. I was road managing. I was selling merch off the stage when the show was done. I was getting all the girls for them. No disrespect if any of the wives was listening.
I'm dead.
Um, I was doing pretty much everything on the road,
That's crazy.
literally.
How?
I don't know. I have no idea. But then again, I attested back to like I said, seeing my mother grow up, seeing her, fend for the family, do what she had to do, raise 3 kids. You know what I'm saying? All that type of shit. So
I
yeah,
feel you. So, I mean, you did the tour management thing for a minute. I know you went on to work with Sean Kingston.
yeah, I
Uh,
did.
why are you laughing?
Shout out to Sean Kingston. That was a minute ago. That was rough.
Why?
It was just rough. He was 17. Um, at the time, it was some, they had some issues going on. I believe his mom was, locked up for a little minute. Um, and it was just a rough situation. You know what I'm saying? It was cool, but it was rough at the time. That's all I can really say. I don't really want to go too much into it, but it was
Okay.
cool. It worked out, and shit, that's what that was.
Were you able at that point to put a price on what you were doing at that point?
Still didn't,
So
still
when
didn't
did we
know.
get when did we get a price tag on what we were doing?
I say like going into like after Sean Kingston, knowing my worth, um, kind of started to be like, all right, cool. But then at that time, still, I felt like road management wasn't enough for me. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you say that?
Because I never wanted to be a road manager. I've always wanted to, God's blessings, like where I'm going and where I want to go. Yeah, I've always looked up to like the pioneers, a Tony Draper, a Baby from Cash Money, a Russell Simmons, a Jay Prince from Rap A Lot. I always felt like I could head a team, tell you what's hot, make you look cool. You know what I'm saying? All of that shit. I just felt like that was what I was meant for. You know what I mean? So that was that.
Gotcha. So you knew it was a bigger picture for you.
Definitely.
So how do we link with Big KRIT in 2010?
So after I got off the road with Sean Kingston, I was like, I ain't gonna lie, I was distraught. I was like, man, what am I gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I was just like,
And you still in New York at the time?
well, it was either I was gonna go home
Okay.
to Houston or go to New York. And I didn't want to go home because I was just like, is this the end? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, is this, you get a little comfortable and then some dramatic happens to where it's like, okay, one day you on, then one day you off. It's like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? So I end up going back to New York, and Shipes was like, yo, come back to New York. It's all good. I can still use your help. Da 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 da. So I was like, all right, bet. At the time, he was forming the Smokers Club, and it was like Smoke, Currency, Wiz was on some dates. KRIT was on some dates. Yeah, so he started the tour. Mac Miller was on some of them, rest in peace. Started the tour, and I started like road managing the whole tour, where I was like over it, not each artist, but just respectfully like making sure that everything was ran right on the road. By that time, I had like a little, I kind of knew what I was doing as far as like with the road shit.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, bet.
So did every artist have, like, how did that work? Did every artist have their own like team that they, or
Yeah,
everybody?
Musa was still there with Currency. Will was there with, this is why I'm so tough with these guys to this day. Musa was there with Currency. Will was there with Wiz. I was there for Smoke, and at the time, KRIT was there. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, they had their teams, but they would still all come to me to find out like what time we doing shit,
Right,
stuff
right,
like
right,
that.
right.
You know what I mean? So
It was a lot of communicating going on.
yeah, definitely. It was cool. A lot of communicating. Was a lot of weed.
A lot of weed.
It was a lot of like, man, by the grace of God, we got through that tour without getting pulled over once, because I'm gonna tell you something, on that one bus, oh my gosh, it was so much weed. So much.
Did you feel any type of way? Like, were you worried? Or you concerned?
Nah, I wasn't worried, but at the end of the day, it was I wasn't worried. I knew we would be all right, but you never know. It was just everybody had their own individual weed. I think it was like 19 people on one bus at one time.
How did you ultimately realize that you were going to be working with KRIT in some capacity? Like, how did that
Well,
happen?
I didn't know,
Okay.
honestly. Like, I was just there handling my business.
Gotcha.
And then we was at South by Southwest in 2009, I believe, or I think it was like 9, and KRIT, Wiz, and Currency, they were recording Glass House in the house. And he was just like, yo, seeing you doing your thing on the tour, I need a road manager for my shit. So I was just like, okay, bet. So that was the beginning of that.
So why management? Like, I mean, you were already doing tour management, so it kind of like makes sense. But like, why ultimately did you decide like I'm going to do this? I'm gonna go ahead and manage KRIT. We got a good situation going, and then like, what did that entail for you at that point?
Why?
Yeah, why?
It's not a why thing for me.
Okay.
Again, it was just like I'm just here to do what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So it turned into like road management, and then it was just like, all right, cool. Then it was just like, I started being on a couple of emails, and I was just like, all right, bet. Then it was just like, I kind of started going to Def Jam in the office just to kind of check on everybody. It was just
Organically happen.
It kind of organically happened. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't like, oh, I want to be KRIT's manager.
Gotcha.
Cause I've always like played my position. That's one thing about me. I never tried to like overshadow the person that brought me in.
Gotcha.
You know, at times it kind of just turns into that. But I've always played my position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how would you say you align yourself and your goals with like your clients' needs and goals? Because I think in terms of being a manager, obviously you're talking to your client and y'all have probably meetings and like just conversations about what this next quarter is gonna look like, or I know y'all just recently dropped like the what is it, thrice, then
Yep.
a single, like y'all had a rollout essentially that's happening to lead up to like whatever your big project is, and that was a conversation that was planning. There was something that happened leading up to that. But my question is, say for instance, your goal for which I've been working on is this, and maybe I even talked about it was this, and then the artist is like, well, I'm kind of like not really thinking about this anymore. I want to go this way. How do you like align yourself and your goals for your client with what they want?
Well,
Or do you?
yeah, I would say that, you know, as the manager, what I've learned, because I feel like, let me just go back real quick. I feel like I'm only like 3 or 4 years old in the music industry. That's just how I keep myself motivated. How I feel like I can keep myself young. Management to me is a whole nother step up from road management. It goes from like, okay, you handling everything on the road to like you're handling everything. You know what I'm saying? Artist expectations, all types of shit. It's a lot that goes on. So what I've learned is, in my short tenure, is to listen to your clients and then see what they want and then go from there. I mean, as a team, you feel like you would tell them what you feel is best or what you would like to see. Um, but sometimes, I mean, artists they they have their plan of how they want to see things and how they want things to roll out.
What if
Um,
it's something that like this is like you really got to do? Like, are you
so
pushing it, or are you just like, all
nah,
right?
yeah, of course I'll push to the max. But at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you can't over push a situation. It'll just turn into like it'll just turn crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and then maybe the message isn't um maybe the message isn't clear from your standpoint. So maybe you bring in a team to kind of say the same message, or um yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
How do you think that you can be an efficient manager? Like, what things are you considering as you're working for your client on a day-to-day basis? What makes you? What are some of the skills or the traits that you possess that make you an efficient manager for
Well,
your client?
some of the traits is, I mean, for one, just being a hard worker. Um, just doing what you have to do at all times is how I feel like, you can always excel. Bringing in a team that can always help you achieve your goal. Listening to the artists, seeing what they want, what type of person are they. All of that shit goes into like sometimes the individualism of a person, like who they are as a person, how they like to be portrayed, how they want to be portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do they want to take it to the moon? Do they want to, it just depends on what they want to do.
Right.
You just kind of just got to listen and just go from there.
So, like, has there been like a great challenge or struggle that you've dealt with in artist management so far? And if there was, how did you overcome that? From like, management is like, putting out some fires here, handling things that, excuse me, that most people probably wouldn't want to do. But that's what the manager kind of steps in, or like if the client doesn't want to talk to certain people, or like you're the person that has to go and handle those things. So has there been a challenge just like working with an artist, be it from any side of it really, because I know you do a multitude of things.
Hold on. Excuse me.
You could.
Um, I think the main thing is like I said, it goes back to communication. Talking to your client,
How
seeing.
often do you talk to Crit in a day?
I talk to him at least probably like 4 or 5 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll call me in the morning, call me throughout the day. You know, it just depends. But since Crit is my only client, we talk fairly a lot. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So there's a lot of questions where I ask him, or he'll tell me what he wants to do, or we'll figure it out as a team, or we may bounce back ideas off of each other. From that sort of sort of standpoint. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you separate the business from the personal, or do you?
Yes. I mean, the business is the business, the personal is the personal. That's just is what it is right there. It can't be any emotions tied into this. If you know something is good business wise, you present it as such, and then you just kind of just go from there. Personal is just personal. I don't really try to include the personal with the business.
I mean, I guess I'm asking because, like, with an artist, you're managing a person. Like, you're managing a person. It's not like you're managing a brand,
Right.
where it's like, okay, I'm managing essential water, and that's like, this has no emotions or feelings or anything. So a lot of times you're considering, probably what Crit is dealing with. If he's dealt with like anything in his personal life, relationships, or whatever, that too. So
hmm
is it like a hard thing for you to separate the two? Or is it yeah, it hasn't been difficult.
Nah, I mean, again, people are human beings at the end of the day. People are gonna go what they go through. I think there's a stigma with artists that they're like superheroes. Um, when that's not really the case. They have emotions. They go through the same thing that we go through on a regular basis. When I say we, I mean like the average person.
Right.
Because really and righteously, there are average people. They just may have a skill set that you may not have or you may not possess. So at the time, it's just if there's something that's personal that may be affecting the business, you may be like, oh, um, yeah, I'm gonna give you some time to get out that funk, or whatever's going on, give you some time to get out of it. But do know we got to snap up out of it. Saying to get back to what we got to get to.
Right.
Um, that'll be how I would tell someone to handle the situation. Like I said, they're creatives. So what makes them so special is that they do have a creative process to them, but then that also may make them vulnerable in other situations and areas of their life that they may not be comfortable talking about. So you just kind of just got to be very mindful. I think you should ask questions to know what type of person you're dealing with. Deep questions, bring it back to like childhood or whatever, just so you can know what type of person you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? In that form of state, I just feel like, yeah, that's my answer on that for sure.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So I want to ask you, just like in terms of like your strategy around releasing things, like what are y'all thinking about prior to coming out with like for instance this current rollout that you are have been working on. What was the preparation for that? And like what strategies do you come up with to like, I'm sure you're included on like the marketing of it and
hmm
getting stuff out there, who you go talk to once it's released. Are y'all, in 2018, a lot of times people are just putting out the song, seeing what it does first before they decide to say, okay, we're going to do a video to this or we're going to really push this one.
hmm
Where's your head at and where's y'all's head at when you're thinking about like prepping for a release?
As far as prepping, I mean, we have a solid team, so we're always talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're always like coming up with ideas or bouncing ideas off each other. Like I said, um, as far as the theory behind the releases that we do, I feel like um, there's nothing different than what we did this time than what we always usually do. But the goal is to always want to get bigger and better. So sometimes it may just be conversations on the music or maybe conversations on the marketing as far as like how we plan to do something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Do we plan on bringing somebody else in that may help us think a little bit more broader? Um, do we want to chase a radio single? Do we want to just kind of go with what we're already used to knowing? You know what I'm saying? It just depends on really what the goal is for the individuals that you work with.
Right.
You know, I know with us, it's always a collaborative effort. And then, you know, I got so many people that I can call, OG status, that I'm blessed to be able to call and they pick up my phone call on 1 or 2 rings where I can like bounce maybe the idea that we have off of them to see if, you know, they think it makes sense
Right.
or whatever. But I think the most important thing is just having a team. So, you know, making sure that you're not relying on, um, let's just say like a label or something to put together your game plan.
How
Well, you
did that building the team and like around, what you guys going on take some time? Like, how did you decide? Like, okay, I can work with this person. This didn't quite work. Was it a lot of trial and error? How
there's
was
gonna
that
be
for you?
trial and error with everything.
Sure.
Um, we haven't really switched up too much of our team. I mean, we still got the same players. We got, of course, KRIT, and we got me, and then we got Steve.
So who? Okay, these people. Obviously, I know Curtis, but what does your team consist of? Like, what roles?
So we have a creative marketing guy, and my guy Steve. Um, he's also a fashion guru. You know, he's into the now. He's always been into the new and into the now. You know what I'm saying? And always thinks about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he was one of the first ones to tell us back in the day that shit was gonna go digital. You know what I'm saying? Um, my thing is like knowing what it is, where it's gonna go, but still putting together pieces like how it would have been back in the day. So like how everybody's going digital marketing, I still would go grassroots marketing on top of that. I would bring both to the field. You know, little things like that, making sure you have a dope PR person. I mean, we have social media, you know, managers and stuff like that. I mean, to me, I feel like we, you know, to do what we've been doing, we definitely have a squad that has been around each other to the point where we can bounce off ideas or be like, yo, that idea sucks, and then no one gets offended.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
we all know what the common goal is, and the common goal is to make sure that KRIT, um, his legacy stands and it stays and it just continues to build. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
So, my last question for you is like, why are you the person for the job? With management, people are easily moved in and out of the situation. Like, this isn't working anymore. I get a new manager or whatever the case may be. People are replaced, but it seems like you've kept your place on KRIT's team and in this business. So, how and why do you think you're the person for that job?
how did I keep the position where I'm at?
Yeah.
Um, Again, it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. I'm a hard worker. Um, I'm relentless when it comes to this shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I put in a lot of work.
What's your
You know what I'm
day-to-day
saying?
like?
My day to day is I'm on the computer every day. I'm on a million phone calls. I'm trying to figure out how we can get it, like I said, get it bigger and better at all times, whether that's from TV standpoints to the internet to how we can do like local things in the city or, you know, how KRIT can be seen a little bit more, how people perceive him. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things. We talk about that stuff all the time. But um, I mean, I feel like why I'm the person for the job is because, I mean, if it wasn't for me, then it wouldn't be for me. That's just the realest drop. Like, you know it's for you, and then if it's not for you, it will not work out. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll kind of just get stagnated. I've never been a content person. I've always wanted bigger and better. I've always wanted to do better. I've always wanted to grow. And that's just the type of individual I am. And I feel like when people get around me, they get a chance to see that if they don't know that. Or when people come into the situation, they may be like, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. But sometimes those ideas may have been thought of already. It just may not have fit for what we were doing at the time.
Right.
So it's just about keeping your mind open, reading. I do a lot of reading.
What you reading right now?
I'm not reading like books and stuff like that.
Okay.
Not to say like that, but I am. But I'm reading like all of the Billboard magazines. I'm reading everything that I'm interested in to help me grow
Gotcha.
to where I want to be.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
So
what's next? What we got coming?
what's next as far as from what? From my standpoint?
From your standpoint, the team, whatever, what's going on, Dutch, like give us the tea.
So I'm just now I'm looking to start branching out as far as like building my management company. So I'm looking for other artists outside of KRIT. We're looking to also, of course, build KRIT to the biggest potential that we can. But that's what's next for me. We have an album coming soon. Not sure if I can tell y'all the date, you know what I'm saying? But
It's up
it's
to you if
definitely,
you want to tell us the date.
no, it's coming. But just know that all the preparations that need to be put together and coming for that album
It's
is
in motion.
already set.
Oh, set.
You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Like we already have pretty much 19 planned out as far as like how we want to do it,
Perfect.
when we want to do it, when's the tour coming, all of that good stuff. You know
Lovely.
what I'm saying? So, you know, it's all about that for sure.
Dope. Well, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for KRIT for sure. I loved everything that has been released. Me and my sister were just. He has a very wide reach. 'Cause me and my sister are 13 years apart, and we're affected the same way. So, congrats on that.
Appreciate
And
it.
I look forward to that album. Tell people where they can find you on social media, or they can get in touch with you.
Just find me on Instagram. It's Dutchington.
Okay.
DUTCHINGTON. Facebook and Twitter, I don't even really know it. But Dutchington is me on Instagram. Just come find me, come holler at me. I'm easy
Find
to
him
talk
popping
to.
bottles on Instagram.
I'm never popping bottles on Instagram. I don't even like to show that type of stuff. Honestly, I'm not that guy. Like, again, I think with the new wave of like Instagram and stuff like that, I love it. But then, like, even you was like, oh, we want to interview, and I'm like, yeah, I want to interview me. Like, I'm like, I never get asked this, right? Because I do see people that get asked or that do podcasts or they're like a part of like panels and shit. I'm like, damn, why nobody asked me to be on the panel or nothing like that? I feel like I got some information I can give away.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? But
You real. You're not hard to get in touch with. It's just you're very quiet. You
yeah,
talk when you need to.
yeah, I talk when I need to. I've always been taught that speak when spoken to, and then outside of that, I just don't like to perceive it one way and it be another way.
Exactly. No, I agree, and that's what Instagram is. So, but if y'all need to get in touch with him, Dutchington on Instagram, we'll talk about that off the record.
For
As
sure.
always, thank you, Dutch, for sitting down with me. And you guys can tune into this podcast and follow us on social media at IDM Podcast, as well as myself on all social media platforms at Sammy Approved. And thank you for tuning in.
I need to go back and listen to this and make sure I did well.
You will. We're going to send it right on over.
All right, cool.
Peace. Sonically superior.